Hey guys, this is OG back with another cryptocurrency update. Today we will be looking at Bitcoin, Ethereum, and some of the altcoins. So, unfortunately, Bitcoin, broke down from this symmetrical triangle once again. So this would have been a good place for a short, at least a short scalp. But unfortunately, I was away from the screen, so I missed that entry. This would have been a good, nice little short from there to here, about 3.5%. This would have been at least a 1-to-1 risk reward already, so would have taken some profits here, but didn't enter. Now I'm not looking to enter here for a short just yet because one, price has already moved a little bit from this point of breakdown. And then secondly, there's been a lot of fake outs recently, right? Whether it's fake outs to the upside or to the downside. So it's a little bit dangerous for you to enter into a trade if it has already moved somewhat from the point of entry. If you're hoping for price to continue, that can be dangerous, right? And also the risk reward wouldn't be great either because you would need to put a stop, somewhere back here. And so your target would have to be much lower as well. And so given the fact that there's not been too much trend continuation in price movement recently, it's dangerous for you to assume that price will go down much lower in order to reach your take profit. And so while price can continue to go down because no one knows what price will do, personally, I'm not taking a short right here. So what I am willing to do is one of two things. One, for me to enter into a short, I need to see price come back here to retest this bottom of this symmetrical triangle and for it to get rejected. Then, this would confirm that this indeed has become resistance, and then I would be looking for a short. In contrast, what we had back here was different, right? So we had this breakdown, right? And it had a nice little kind of drop. And so same thing here, right? I think, if I'm not mistaken, I posted when price was here or here that I wasn't looking to add to my short because price had already moved somewhat from this point of breakdown and could very well reverse, and that's exactly what it did, right? It formed the inverse head and shoulders. We took a long here, right, and then had to take profit somewhere around here, which worked out really nicely. And since then, I was saying that I was looking for a potential short, right, if price got rejected at this point, which it didn't, and broke right back through with very strong volume, right? This huge volume spike, this huge candle, and so this, gave me confidence to hold onto my long, and eventually took profits around here. And so, same thing here, right? So now, if we come back here to test this and get rejected, then that's where I will be looking for a short. But if we have something similar to this, where we come back and it was just break back right through, come back within this, then I'm not looking for a short. In that case, again, I'll be looking for a potential long upon this break of this symmetrical triangle to the upside. We've gotten so many fake outs, and honestly, we were after this kind of false breakdown to the downside. Very likely scenario that I was thinking was that most likely the price will move to the upside, and price wasn't going to be ready to do that. But then we got some G7 FUD, right? So President Biden, was called for this G7 summit of Group of 7 nations. And there's speculation, right? It's not confirmed yet, but there's speculation that they might be discussing environmental issues, and then tied in with that, Bitcoin mining, and with El Salvador, recently making Bitcoin legal tender. There's also speculation that the IMF and kind of the powers that be are not happy with that, right? Because it makes them harder to have leverage against developing countries, right? Because one of the ways that these kind of international institutions have sway over or have power over a lot of these smaller countries is through things like loans, right, monetary policy, sanctions, etc. But as we know, Bitcoin is kind of outside of that existing system, and so it's reasonable that they would be, let's just say that it would be reasonable to assume that they're probably not, cheering for something like this, because if all of these countries are to, make Bitcoin legal tender and to move on to the Bitcoin standard, right, if you will, then this means that the IMF, the World Bank, all these organizations will have their powers diminished significantly, and so you can see that you can see how some of these bureaucrats, right, probably wouldn't be too happy with that, and so there's this background. So again, we're seeing that just as back here when price broke out, Elon came out and fed some FUD. Here, when price about to break out, then there's the G7 Biden. So it's just that it's been a tough few weeks, tough few months. But I think one thing we need to keep in mind is that the long-term narrative, right? The long-term narrative of Bitcoin being something that is wanted by the people, right? Something that the fact that people are some of the powers that be, right? The existing investing interests are fighting against it, and it's still not dead. It means that there is this other group, right? This grassroots kind of movement that is fighting for it. And so I think this is it sucks in the moment, but the fact that this is happening, this fight is happening, means that this is something that's strong, that's powerful, right? Otherwise there wouldn't be this fight, and people wouldn't really even care about it. And so I think just keep that in mind. But of course, with that said, it still sucks when price drops, right? And when price collapses, when we can fail again and again to break above resistance, so that's not good. But with that said, right, so while Bitcoin did have this movement down, we've actually saw some strong rebound from some of the altcoins, at least in Bitcoin terms, right? So maybe not in dollar terms, but at least against Bitcoin, they held up better. So, for example, if we take a look at Ethereum, with the dollar chart, not looking too great, right? But if we move on to the ETH versus Bitcoin chart, we actually saw a nice little bounce here, right? So it's not the mother of all bounces, but it's something, right? So we actually, and this is where sometimes in the technical analysis really comes into play, right? So we know that the 61.8 fib is very important for cryptocurrencies, and especially the larger caps, right? With Bitcoin being probably the most influenced by it, right? So we see that if we take this swing low to swing high and we pull this fib, this golden pocket of 61.8 to 65%, this is exactly where the ETH Bitcoin pair fell to, and then held support and then rebounded. So this typically would have been a nice place for at least a speculative long, but again, I was away from the monitor. And then looking at the Cardano Bitcoin chart, again, similar, right? So we didn't actually fall all the way to the 61.8, but we got very close, right? And so again, we saw this last leg of the capitulation, if you will, this very steep drop before this bounce. Something we saw here, right? So as price was coming down, it got very steep at the very end, and then it rebounded. So this is something that, if we take something like this, right, it broke out of that. So that was the basis of my trade actually with Binance Coin yesterday, but unfortunately hit stop loss. So it seemed like it was a little bit too early into the trade, but this was with the 61.8 golden pocket. We saw price come down, getting steeper and steeper. In hindsight, maybe I should have entered a little bit earlier, right? Maybe I should have taken the trend line like this, right? As price was getting steeper, you kind of should be taking this steeper and steeper resistances, and then looking for a break of the latest one. So maybe something like this. If I had taken it long here, I would have taken profit here. But hindsight is 20/20, right? As they say. So I'm not gonna stray away from that fact that I had a losing trade. But it was a very small position, very speculative position, because I still think that there's a high likelihood that the Bitcoin dominance will go up before we have another alt season. And so, as many of you know, a few weeks back, I actually scaled out of essentially all of my altcoin positions, and now sitting in Bitcoin and USDT. So now, moving on to the Polkadot chart, we see something very similar, right? Coming back down to the 16.8 and having a small bounce. XRP. So with our XRP, it's a little bit different. So it actually bounced a little bit earlier, but then it kind of fell through, and now it's trying to come back. So what I would be looking for the XRP pair is for it to come back and reclaim, right, get above the 61.8, so get above this region, perhaps doing something like this, right? Doing something like this. So come back, wait, this is not okay. Yeah, so come back, then retest the 61.8 and as support, and then break above, right? And maybe we're looking for a long pullback here or upon a break of this initial high here. So this is the bullish potential bullish scenario that I would be looking for XRP, but right now it's too early to say, right? But this is something to keep in mind. So that's everything from me for today. I guess stay calm, and I will be back with another video tomorrow. All right, thank you guys.